Hey guys, it's Conrad Bobby Lack here, CEO of Investors Prime Real Estate and best-selling author of Australian Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Welcome to today's video. And today I've made a video for you about the top 10 best suburbs to invest in Melbourne. And these are suburbs that have done exceedingly well in the last 2 years, despite COVID-19, despite all the doom and gloom out there that the market's going to crash by 40%. So I'm going to show you these suburbs and exactly why they have gone up so much and what the future holds for those suburbs. I'm also going to showcase 10 suburbs that I'll recommend you not investing in. You can if you want to lose money or not make any money long term. And I'll talk about the fundamentals of why these areas will be affected in a very negative way long term. And when I say long term, I'm talking about 5 to 10 years. Now remember, one thing is I get a lot of feedback about areas where people say to me, Conrad, I know I'm living in an area you don't like. This is only to do with money, guys. This is nothing to do with livability. Remember, you got to separate where you live, which is an emotional decision, and where you're investing in is purely just a financial decision. There's no emotion in making money. It's purely a system. In fact, if there is emotion, you're probably destined to fail because the most sophisticated investors out there use a systemized approach to investing. So welcome to today's video. Personal disclaimer before I get started, I'm not going to insult your intelligence and tell you that you're going to become a multi-millionaire property investor by doing anything that I'm about to show you. And obviously anything that you do, you need to get independent financial advice from people that have actually got results. And also there's no guarantees in life. The only guarantee is that if you don't do anything, you're going to end up dead broke. And I guarantee you that 100%. If you take no action, you're going to end up asset rich, potentially, one house paid off, dead broke at 65. So the biggest risk in life, guys, is not to take risks. A bit about myself. I'm not going to bore you with my background, but I'm a real estate agent. I have also a mortgage broking background and financial planning. I've wasted 4 years of my life at Monash University doing a business course. Nearly did an MBA, more bad advice. But I actually thought, you know what, I want to start making money and actually buying stuff. Stuff is good. So I left the institutional grounds of getting educated by people that are broke and got into the real world. The most important thing about myself is that I'm actually a real investor in Melbourne and I've got a multi-million-dollar property portfolio. So I'm not a theorist or an academic that sits there in a dark cubicle somewhere telling you about doom and gloom and looking at charts all day. I'm out on the street, on the road, looking at developments, buying, selling, sourcing for investors, talking to developers, talking to actually real people that are wealthy. I'm talking about developers that are worth $50, $100 million, not some deadbeats at university campuses that are prophesizing Armageddon. They're on $89,000 per year. What a joke. Anyway, that's what I do. So just so you understand, letters after your name mean nothing. It's about the balance of your bank account and your experience that gives you all the credibility. And that's the only thing that gives me the right to talk to you here today about what's happening in the property market. Also, if you want to get a copy of my book on finance, which is Australian Property Finance Made Simple, just go to my website or get it through any good bookshop or Amazon. Also, Real Estate Investing Made Simple, also #1 best-selling book on Amazon. Or you can jump onto my website, realestatemadesisimple.com.au. By the way, because I'm feeling really generous and because my new book has gone to #1 bestseller on Amazon and my second book is still in the top 10, what I decided to do is anyone that buys my book through my website, I'm going to give you my latest home study for free, which is a huge home study. It's about, I think it's about 12 hours of content and you get a huge manual. And it's the one that I just did before COVID-19. So it's from March last year. And you get free access to that the moment you buy my book. So 10 hours of video, 265-page manual. So that's only if you buy my books through my website. So enjoy that, guys. And I want to thank everyone for supporting me. Now, let's get into the market. The end is near. Doom and gloom and Armageddon. Do you guys remember this story on 60 Minutes? And they've disabled the comments on YouTube, by the way, because it's so embarrassing for them. Now, this was on the 16th of September, 2018. 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And let me show you a summary, and I've covered this story extensively on my various YouTube videos. A television report alleging Australian home prices could crash by as much as 40% in the next year. Remember, this was 2018, has been slammed by property experts. The brick and slaughter story, a 60 Minutes report journalist by Tom Steinford focused on the nightmare scenario outlined in digital finance analytics principal Martin North. It was predicted that 2/5 of your home's worth will be wiped out in just 12 months. So 12 months being the 16th of September 2019. Now today is November 2021. 40% a year. What happened? Isn't it embarrassing? Like, how embarrassed would you be? How much credibility would you have lost? Wouldn't you just feel like a complete dickhead? Seriously, like 40% Armageddon, and then on the market's gone up by 30%. It's incredible, you know. And the reason is these guys has no properties, these academics have no properties, they're just people. Remember, these experts is just an old guy that went to uni and did assignments, okay, with younger people and got a bit of paper that says he's qualified. That doesn't mean anything, okay? Just because you're a professor of economics doesn't mean you know shit. You're just a professor. You've got a certificate from Monash or Melbourne. Big deal. It's ridiculous what society deems to, in terms of where society gives credibility to people with letters after the name. They mean nothing, guys. These people have no money. They're broke. They're not investors. They're just PYG employees working at university campuses. Would you rather listen to someone that's 100,000 per year, or one of the developers I work with whose family's worth 200 million, who's done 100 developments in Melbourne, medium and high density, who are living in a mansion in Toorak? Who would you listen to? The developer or the broke academic? Just think about it, you know? It's crazy. I mean, for me, it's just comedy. When I listen to these guys, I just, 40%, what about 70%? What about 90%? So, you know, Brighton beachfront property, 6 million, 600,000. Yeah, and there'll be those rich people will be screaming out, running out of those properties because it's just ridiculous. Anyway, remember, every single correction we've had, every economic event we've had historically has been followed by a property boom. The best time to buy properties, guys, the best time is always at the bottom of the market, the GFC. 2008, I was speaking on the stage. Guys, buy Elwood, buy St Kilda, okay? Buy Brighton, it's undervalued. Blackrock, Balmoral, Yarraville, Williamstown, Essendon, North Melbourne, East Melbourne, Carlton, Collingwood. 2008, how many videos have I made in 2008? Speaking to people, telling people to buy. What were the academics saying in 2008? The market's going to crash, don't buy anything, buy gold. You idiots, gold. There's no leverage in gold. And the same things will happen continuously. 2017, I was telling people to buy. Now the market's hot and it keeps going up. Is it a good time to buy property? From a timing perspective, it's not a good time to buy property because you're paying a premium now. Labour cost has gone up, inflation's going up. You know, properties were cheap last 2 years. The average property in a good suburb of Melbourne went up by 20 to 30%. I'm about to show you which suburbs. So is it a good time to buy now? No. From a timing perspective, it's not a good time. It was a good time 2 years ago. From a practical perspective, it's a redundant question. It's like saying, when's the best time to join a gym and get healthy? Now? What about 3 years from now, Conrad? Okay, that's good. So just watch Netflix, eat Maltesers and eat pizzas, and then 3 years from now, join a gym. It doesn't make sense, right? Remember, it's about consistency and performance. You'll never get the timing of the market correct. That's what I'm going to guarantee you. All you got to do is stick to the fundamental suburbs, buy there, and when they go up in value, you just look really smart. That's the secret of making money in property. That's what I've been doing. You know, the end is near. It's always been near. I'm 45 now, and every 10 years, there's this whole group of academics that come out prophesizing Armageddon. It's crazy. Now, we had COVID-19, which is a game changer in a lot of ways. And you know, people had, I've been getting a lot of emails saying, when are you going to do your next YouTube video? So thank you for that. I've been so busy, guys, just getting people's portfolios to grow. I haven't had time to do any videos. And I really enjoy working with people one-on-one. I've had clients buy the 8th, 9th, 10th property now. Clients have been revaluating properties. So remember, when the market's hot like it is now, what you want to do is, you should have a number of properties by this stage, is lock in your valuations at the highest point. Because remember, comparable sales are only valid for 90 days and then they expire. So when the market is hot, Rather than buying properties, what you're doing is you're revaluating your existing properties that you would have purchased at the lowest point in the market, and locking in your lines of credit and redraw facilities so you can get that cash out when the market dips, then you buy more properties, right? In the fundamental areas that we talk about. So I've been really busy just getting people to buy 2 or 3 properties this year and revalue their existing portfolio. And between that and powerlifting and a bit of kickboxing, I haven't had time to do much. I only work, kind of 10 to 6 p.m. and I have 6 holidays per year. I don't really work that hard. I wouldn't consider myself lazy. I just value my time. And I can only do so much consulting in a week. And also what's happened is I've actually nearly reached capacity where I think in the future I won't be able to take on any more clients because I work one-on-one with clients and I've got this whole portfolio now of clients, about 300 people that are actively investing. I'm literally running out of time to take on new clients. So I'll be taking on new clients for the next, 6 months, maybe 12 months, and that's it. I'll still be doing videos and writing books. I just won't be taking on new clients. And I'll probably hire someone to look after my future clients, a buyer's advocate or a really good property strategist. COVID-19 has really changed the game because one thing that it has changed dramatically in Melbourne, and this is the result of these property or these areas booming, is that people no longer value the distance from home to the city. And that's a real game changer. See, imagine you're a couple, and this is a client of mine, they're living in Port Melbourne. They've got a 2-bedroom house with a study and 2 kids, young kids. They're just going to primary school. And they love the house, and the house is worth just over $2 million. Now, COVID-19 comes in. Both of them, by the way, work in the city, okay? COVID-19 comes in, and this happens to a lot of couples. Suddenly they need to work from home. So they need 2 Zoom rooms, okay, or 2 team rooms for their virtual meetings all day. And they need separate rooms because you can't be in the same room talking at the same time. So suddenly they need a house which has 4 bedrooms because you need 2 bedrooms just to do your Zoom meetings, and then you need 2 bedrooms to function, even 3. So what they do is they sell them $2 million house and they go out to Mount Waverley and buy a 5-6 bedroom house with a tennis court and swimming pool. Or they go to Eltham, or other suburbs. And this is what has happened en masse in Melbourne and Sydney and to a smaller extent in Brisbane, where people have gone to the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. And also people have left Melbourne completely. They've gone to Tree Change, Sea Change, or they've gone to the Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast and bought waterfront properties. So a lot of hip inner city buyers are making a move to Melbourne's outer suburbs. And this is a phenomenon that has occurred during COVID-19 because that distance from their home to the city is no longer of any value. In fact, they're working from home. They might not even go to the office at all. And even now, after COVID-19 lockdowns have ceased, that pattern is continuing on. Employers, even the most conservative ones, who don't trust their employees, thinking if they're working from home, they'll be watching, Netflix, eating Maltesers and eating pizzas all day, doing 2 hours of work, have realised, no, that's not true. People are actually working longer hours from home because they have the flexibility of structuring the workday around their family and their hobbies. And so it's much more efficient. Not only that, companies no longer need that expensive office space. So Collins Street office, especially in the legal precinct, it's like 30% empty, 40% empty. A lot of companies, legal firms have been getting rid of their office space. All the lawyers now are working from home. Like I look at my team that I refer clients to, a lot of the lawyers that I work with who do settlements for our company, they're all working from home. They're using PEXA, which is a new settlement system. There's no paper anymore. As you know, because of DocuSign, there's no contracts of sale anymore that are in paper form. It's all electronic. And settlements are electronic as well. So there's no need for that lawyer to be in Collins Street every day. He can just sit at home on his computer, click buttons and settle properties. Same with accounting groups. There's many accountants that I work with where they've gone from Melbourne, where they used to work in Richmond and live in Richmond or Hawthorn. They've moved out to Rye, Sorrento, Portsea. They've gone completely an hour, 2 hours out from the city into the coastal towns because they no longer need to be in the city at all. In fact, some of them don't even go to the office anymore permanently. Like they're not even required to go even once a month. They literally just work from home and do everything via Zoom. So that's been a massive game changer in the industry. And because of that, house prices across 92 suburbs in Melbourne has soared by double digits in the space of just 1 year, new data shows. as home buyers turn their backs on inner city favourites and flock to leafy middle ring and outer suburbs, okay? And so these are the areas that have really boomed in Melbourne, which are predominantly the eastern suburbs, which are the leafy lifestyle suburbs, established suburbs with great schools, shopping, but a lot of trees. See, the problem with the western suburbs in Melbourne is there's no trees, okay? And the reason there's no trees, especially in new estates like Point Cook, Trigonina, Tarneit, is because with the moment you go 3 metres down, you hit salt water. And because of that, tree roots will be destroyed. So trees can't be planted in the western suburbs. That's one of the, not many people know about this. People don't even know, living in those suburbs, that that's the reality why there's no trees there. And when you go to places like Eltham or Ringwood North or Donvale, you just go, wow, this is amazing. In fact, people have been moving all the way to Olinda, Sassafras and the Dandenong Ranges. Why not? It's a lifestyle area. So if you're into the mountains, into the trees, I mean, that is the best area in Melbourne to live. If you're into the beach, you can go all the way to, well, you know, Sorrento, past Sorrento. You just keep going and just choose any coastal town in Melbourne. So Warrandyte, for example, remember, this is for 12 months, 25.8%, median price 1.352 million. Pascoe Vale South, which is obviously in the west, 1.15, 25%. Brunswick East, Brunswick's always been fantastic because of the lifestyle area. See, this is an area that's not leafy, but you got all the cafes and restaurants and gyms and everything. So it's a real hipster suburb. 23.8%. Diamond Creek, okay, 21.5%. Listerfield, 18%. Ormond's really good because Ormond has boomed because of the McKinnon High catchment area, and also Ormond's kind of a inner beachy suburb. I mean, you can, from Ormond to get to North Road and go all the way to the beach, it's 15 minutes. Noble Park North is just really good value. Oakley, once again, cafes, restaurants, Viewbank and Frankston North. Now, Frankston North, I've been telling people to buy, is just so cheap. It's a very rough area. It's going through gentrification, but it's a super rough area. They were so cheap 3 years ago, you could have picked up a house on a good block for 450, 400,000. Now they're selling, the best ones are selling for 650. This is the median price, obviously. And I'm still a big fan of Frankston North as an area that's going to go through gentrification. 5 years capital growth, 56%, guys. I mean, it's crazy. That's an entry level into the Melbourne property market. But remember, you just have to make sure your property manager wears a bulletproof vest when they collect rent or do any inspections, because they will get shot. They will get stabbed. These are for units. So also people have chosen areas where, you know, they can't afford a house, which is getting expensive. So the second option is a unit. And once again, you have places that are really lifestyle areas. And either they have the beach or have extensive shopping, cafes, restaurants, gyms, beautician parlours, everything going for them. So East Melbourne, obviously very close proximity to the city. Thornbury, Surrey Hills, Northcote, Cheltenham, beachside obviously, Langwarrin, Bond Beach, beachside. Balaclava is lifestyle, Fairfield, Collingwood. So it's either close to the city, but not so much that the city is the main attraction. It's the cafes and restaurants. It's an older suburb, or it's close to the beach. So what people have done really with COVID-19 is they looked at, now that we don't need to go to the city, what are we into, okay, as a couple? You could be into walking your dog by the beach every morning, you know, and that's your thing. And especially with the 5K radius restriction, those people that were on the beachside suburbs were lucky they could go running every morning on the beach. Well, let's get a beachside suburb, you know, what can we afford? And then you go down the coastline. Or you could say, we're not into the beach so much, we're into the mountains and trees. We like going for, you know, walks in the morning or going to exercise in parks, eastern suburbs. And that's what happened. Remember, what factors really determine capital growth in Melbourne? Always think about the lifestyle triangle. And I've made a video about 10 things you need to consider before investing into a suburb. And this is really the core of it. It's not so much distance to the city, and this has been. It's just that majority of white-collar jobs happen to be concentrated in the city. But it's really the distance between work, school, if you got kids, or lifestyle areas, you haven't got kids, because then schools would be weird if you're like an old person without kids and you want to be next to a school. I'm just saying, not judging. But lifestyle areas, so cafes, restaurants, etc., and then home. So if you're driving 10 minutes from work to pick up your kids from school to home and back and work, you've got a very good quality of life. right? If you're driving an hour from home to work and then an hour to school, an hour home, and you're doing 3 hours a day in the car, your quality of life over a week would be very low. So people will pay for convenience. People will pay for access to shops, lifestyle centres, and great schools especially. And especially when you're targeting the white-collar, upmarket professional, school zones are essential. So I'll be focusing on school zones exclusively in Melbourne. If there's one thing, and I'm going to show you the stats, if you don't know when to start investing and you're completely confused, which a lot of people are, especially I get phone calls and have Zoom meetings with 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, they're pre-approved and they don't know what to do. If there's one area that I would look at is school zones, you can't go wrong. Just go for the best school zones in Melbourne and I'll show you which ones they are. Western Melbourne suburbs are hotspots for mortgage stress. Now, remember what's happened with COVID-19? It was a weird thing because it has disrupted some industries and shut them down completely. Hospitality, tourism, cafes, restaurants, gyms, right? Any kind of events company. So photography for weddings, wedding function centres, all shut down permanently, right? So those people did it really hard, which is very unfortunate. And, you know, you got Dan to thank for so send him an email. Other industries have boomed, okay? I have a lot of GPs, a lot of medical staff. Their incomes were higher during COVID-19 than any other time prior to that because the hospitals were understaffed, doctors were on demand. Also, the medical sector in general has done very well. There are some sectors like dentistry will shut down apart from emergency dentistry, so they've suffered as well. The other industries is banking and finance. I mean, they've really done well because on the back of this property boom. So mortgage brokers have done really well, banks, and then obviously accounting firms, legal firms, feeding off that financial services sector. So when you're investing in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane, you've got to be aware of sectors that are affected negatively by COVID-19 and sectors that have boomed during a period of time. And then you've got to work out, well, where are these people living and where are they investing? And then you got to just put your money there. Because remember, all these videos that I'm doing, guys, I'm just designing these videos to help you make money. And I'm just sharing my methodology and my idea about money and why people like myself who make a lot of money from property, what do we think about when we're buying these properties? Which is virtually the opposite of what everyone else does who has one or two properties. And that's why I've got a massive property portfolio, because I think about it as a business. I don't think about it emotionally. It's all pure and analytical, no emotion kind of an approach. So if you look at, for example, these are change in payroll, and the best way to manage or actually look at the industry and how it's been impacted is payroll tax. And this is government data. So accommodation and food services have reduced their payroll by 21.29%. This includes also the JobKeeper and JobSeeker. So despite the JobKeeper and JobSeeker, which have had the result of having a lot of businesses sitting there as zombie businesses, so technically they're insolvent, but they're still trading to pay their staff, they still have massive reductions in payroll, which means they're not paying people, which means there's many people in that industry unemployed. Arts and recreations, rental, hiring and real estate services, so anything to do with rental and hiring, you know, and it just goes through all the main areas that have actually, you know, suffered. As a result of that, those people that have suffered because of the industry they're in, because the industry has been shut down, were given the chance of not to pay their mortgages for 6 months. But now interest rates are going to go up slightly. So that's put mortgage stress on a lot of people because they had no income for that period of time. And even though you're not paying for your mortgage, you're still paying expenses and bills and everything else, right? I mean, your mortgage should be only around 30-40% maximum of your wage, but you're still having a lot of income. You still got to maintain your car, you still got to eat, pay insurance, etc. So more than 700,000 Australian households took up the offer of having the mortgage payments deferred. But this has created a lot of mortgage stress. In Victoria, there are 2,483,771 households, which is 40% under mortgage stress with an enormous economic impact from the pandemic. So these are people that have mortgage stress. Now, definition of mortgage stress are people that have either committed too much of their income towards the mortgage without any buffer, or that are 3 months behind in their mortgage repayments. And the highest concentration of these people is in Melton, Wyndham, Tullamarine, Middlesea, Burundura and Casey. And these are all the new estates around Melbourne. So if you're investing, I would stay away from these areas in the next 3 to 5 years. You're going to see massive economic fallout on prices in those areas. Because remember, that some of these people will hold on to those properties. They'll get through the period of hardship. A lot of these people lose their houses. When you lose your house, there'll be fire sold. And when the fire is sold, they'll create a lower price point for the next property. So these areas are the highest areas in Melbourne that have deemed to have the highest probability of unemployment. The blue areas have the lowest probability of unemployment. So I would stay away from these new estates around Melbourne and not invest in. I've done a lot of YouTube videos showing which are the estates, and I'm going to give it to you by postcode. So this is actually top 10 Victorian postcodes in mortgage stress. And I'm going to show you exactly which ones they are. Now, the argument could be, okay, I'm being a devil's advocate here, is maybe because they're mortgage stress, it's an opportunity to buy a bargain as an investor. Potentially, yes. But it will be a long-term game, because the market's going up like this. You might buy a property, but the area might be so negatively affected by all the fallout, you might not get any growth for 3 years. So what you're doing is you're buying under market, but you're still going to get your valuations up for the next 3 years, which means you're missing out on the whole property cycle. Yes, it could work if you have a large property portfolio, but if you're starting out, don't do it, guys, because you have no equity in those properties. So this is ranked by the highest amount of mortgage stress per postcode. So number one is postcode 3805, Fountain Gate, Narre Warren South, and that's 8,919 homes that are mortgage stressed. That's huge. Nearly 9,000 homes, guys. Think about the street, how many homes there are in the street. So virtually, you know, I mean, the suburb could have 30,000 homes. It's like literally 40-50% of the suburb is in mortgage stress. Berwick, Huckaway, 8,292, so postcode 3806. Hoppers Crossing, Tunny, Trigonina. And it's pronounced Trigonina, by the way, guys, okay? It's after an Aboriginal elder, okay? It's just there's some weird pronunciations of these suburbs, but it's Trigonina. 7,972. Then you have some regional towns in Ballarat North, which is 7,546. Obviously, those people have been affected as well. Then you have Hillside and Sydenham, which is postcode 3037. And then we go down to post number 6, Durham at Point Cook, Werribee, 6,399. Craigieburn, Donnybrook, that whole area, Roxborough Park, you know, 3064. Pakenham Upper, 3810, 6,218. And then you have Cranbourne East, Cranbourne North. I actually like Cranbourne as an investment area, not for houses, but for townhouses. And I'll talk about why later on. So Junction and Sky, 6,139, and then Rowville, 5,843. Mainly Rowville because it has such new estates being built there. The old Rowville's fine. It's the new part of Rowville that's in trouble. People have overpaid for large properties and they really just went all in without any buffers. Now, by the way, so this information, the total there is 70,000 homes that are in mortgage stress currently in Victoria in these top 10 postcodes. There are other postcodes, obviously, as we go down the list. So what you want to do is minimise your exposure to these suburbs, because in the next 3 years, there's going to be massive fallout in these suburbs. People will be losing houses. There'll be fire sold, creating a lower price point for other properties that are virtually the same. And remember, in Point Cook, there's no such thing as blue chip Point Cook and average Point Cook. It's just Point Cook. It's the same property over and over. You can't differentiate streets in Point Cook, okay? You can argue, yeah, this is a little bit closer to the school or shopping centre. That doesn't translate to a lot of money. I've covered this extensively in my other YouTube videos. So just don't invest in Point Cook, okay? It's just very simple. I can't make it any simpler. By the way, this video isn't so much about charts. It's about buy in these areas, don't buy in these areas. By the way, I haven't got properties in these areas either in terms of sourcing stock. So I have no agenda of telling you this information. I'm not a developer pushing an area or trying to make an area look less favourable. I have properties in Point Cook to sell you, okay? So I have access to 96 estates. If you want to buy Point Cook, ring me. I'll sell you a Point Cook house. Because some people think, oh, he bags Point Cook because he doesn't have properties to sell there, and he makes St Kilda look better because he's got a project in St Kilda. No. If you want to lose money in Poncook and Truganina, I'll sell you a beautiful 5-bedroom house for $650,000 and guarantee you 2% growth for the next 10 years. No problem, guys. Just give me a call. Top 10 suburbs by housing increase. These are the best areas that have gone up because of this COVID-19 game-changing thing where people have moved out, from areas that are in the city, small houses, Port Melbourne, Albert Park, East Melbourne, South Melbourne. And they said, we can't live in these properties. They're not conducive for our lifestyle. We want to live in these larger properties. So Diamond Creek, 27%. This is overall the best top 10 suburbs right now for the last 2 years. Eaglemont, 22.7%. 2.2 million is the actual median price. Warrandyte, 1.3 million, 22.5%. Flemington's got a lot of parks. I mean, it's virtually all parkland. That's why it's so attractive, 22.4%. Frankston North, once again, just because of the sheer value of Frankston North, 22.2%. And it is on the beach. I mean, it's a beachside suburb. It's not far from the beach, so... Pascoe Vale South, just value. Brunswick, because of the hipster factor, cafes, restaurants. Frankston South, on the beach, obviously, 21%. Viewbank, 20.9%, and then Oakley. So these are the best top 10 suburbs to invest in. And if you want to make money there, they'll continue to boom for the next 12 months. Eventually, they'll go back to the normal growth. So out of all these lists, if I had to take a long-term approach to investing, I would say Eaglemont definitely. Forget about Warrandyte, Flemington. Frankston North from gentrification, once again, bulletproof vest, stun gun, capsicum spray when you're there. Pascoe Vale South's fine, it's good value. Brunswick's always been on the radar. I'm a big fan of Brunswick. Frankston South, not a big fan of. It's predominantly mansions, like Oliver Hill and that whole section there, Frankston South on the cliff. It's such a difficult market to price. It's not a rental market either. You can buy properties there for $4 million, $5 million on the waterfront. Who's going to rent them? It doesn't make sense. It's more owner-occupied. Viewbank, yeah. Oakley, fantastic. Oakley, I'm a big fan of. I mean, they've turned Oakley Central into mini Lygon Street. The cafes, restaurants there that are fantastic. The Greek community has really changed the whole area. Oakley is fantastic. So even though something's booming right now, you got to look at, is it booming right now? Is it going to boom for the next 10 years? Can that consistency continue on? And the answer is, for some of these areas, yes. Some of these areas, no, it'll be short-lived. The top performing suburbs of Melbourne, North, for the price growth. So North is also really good because it's leafy and people have jumped, from inner suburb properties. So these are the best areas to invest in for the last 12 months. And this is dated, by the way, from September the 14th, 2021, from the Herald Sun. So research, 48.7%, 1.6 million. Essendon North, 1.3 million, 41.8%. And that's just, Essendon North is just value for money, and it's, next to Essendon, which has Essendon Grammar and all the benefits of living there. Plenty, which is a very leafy northeast area, 1.5 million, 33.9%. Atwood, same thing, a very leafy, Lower Plenty. Massive houses, right? Diamond Creek, massive houses, massive estates on massive leafy properties. Viewbank, Pascoe Vale South, Ivanhoe East, and Eaglemont. So these are the areas that have really boomed for the last 12 months. Can you imagine getting 48% on your money? Like you're buying something for $800,000 to worth 1.6 million? It's crazy. That's in 12 months, guys, Now, sometimes people send me these stories. Oh, you said Pakenham's not a good area. My uncle bought 2 blocks in Pakenham, and they give me this whole story about the uncle, how he built one, he sold one, he made 150 grand. Who cares? 150 grand after capital gain tax, 75,000. These people have doubled their money virtually in 12 months, okay? So forget about these stories about, made 50 grand, 100 grand, held onto the land for 10 years. It doesn't impress me. I'm trying to give you information to empower you to make the most possible money. You can live wherever you want to live, guys. You can live in Adelaide if you choose to, and still invest in Melbourne. Why would you live in Adelaide? Apart from Glenelg, I mean, it's not, that's the only area I'll probably live in Adelaide. And already I can see Mornington Peninsula, which is also a sea change COVID-19 market, has already shown slight, slowdown in terms of capital growth potential. Few areas in Melbourne have seen bigger increases in property values than the coastal suburbs of Mornington Peninsula, right? So you've got a whole, not only Mornington, but the whole coastal area of Mornington Peninsula has boomed because it's one of the most beautiful parts of Victoria you can live in, and you're still there. You've got all the transport. You're not away from, you're not off the grid, basically. You're still there in suburbia, but you got the best beaches, tree-lined streets, cafes, restaurant, really good schools. I mean, it's all there, right? Ticks all the boxes. Over the past 12 months, the Seaside Postcode has witnessed a tsunami of buying activity. Data from the latest Domain House price report shows that of the top 20 Melbourne suburbs with the highest annual growth, 10 were in the Mornington Peninsula, but now it's slowing down. Why is it slowing down? Because the people that wanted to move there have moved there. Okay? There's only so many people that will move to Mornington Peninsula, and they've kind of done it already. And now, that's it. There's a few left over, definitely. It will continue on into next year, but then eventually will come to an end. And then Mornington Peninsula suburbs will go back to the norm that they're doing, the normal capital growth. So this whole sea change, tree change, guys, is not something that's going to continue consistently for the next 10 years. It's going to continue for the next 12 months, maybe 24 months, and then it'll be the end of it, okay? And then if you're investing in property, remember, it's a long-term game. Always think long-term. Now, have a look at which area to invest in. I always get asked the question, Conrad, do you only source in Melbourne? I source only in Melbourne because Melbourne is the best capital growth potential market. Not the most expensive market, not the cheapest market, the best capital growth potential market. If you look at Melbourne, for example, if you look at Sydney, which is the biggest market and the most expensive market, in 1981, the average earning per person was $15,800 in Australia. In 2021, 93,500. Okay, so bear those figures in mind. In Sydney, the median price for a house in 1981 was 78,900. So it was a multiple of five times earning ratio, right? So 5 years you had to work to get the house. Then in 21, it was 1.3 million, so 14 times. Over 40 years, it's 16.6 times. For units, okay, a little bit lower growth. Melbourne was much cheaper, lower population, lower job prospects, and not as pretty. I would say Sydney is prettier than Melbourne because you've got those waterfront properties, especially overlooking the Darling Harbour. It's amazing. We haven't got that in Melbourne. Melbourne's already flat, and we've only got the waterfront properties in Brighton, the Golden Mile, and then we've got the Turax. But Sydney is just prettier, but it's just so expensive that you need a lot of money to enjoy life in Sydney, and it's landlocked pretty much from every direction. But it is prettier, without question, objectively speaking, Melbourne's median price was 44,000 in 1981, which is a multiple of 2.8. Have a look at that, less than half of the growth of Sydney, but look what happened since. Now it's 962,000, just clocked 1 million recently, went down, 10.3, still not as high as Sydney, but look at the difference between 40 years, 21.9 versus 16.6. Melbourne has the greatest potential for the greatest upswing in property prices. You can make more money in Melbourne, and the rental yields are much higher here than they are in Sydney in terms of dollar for dollar value for suburbs. So the rental yields in Melbourne in blue chip areas are 3.5%, 4%, where in Sydney they're 2%. So it's all cash flow negative. In Melbourne, it's all cash flow positive. I'll show you an example today of a really good townhouse that I've sourced that's cash flow positive by some 7,500 to 10,000 per year. Brisbane is also very good. It started off really cheap, 2.9 times earnings. So median price for houses were 45,325. Now they're 709,000. So multiply by 15.6 is catching up to Sydney, right? You won't ever reach Melbourne. Melbourne will have the biggest population in 2035 in Australia. In fact, Melbourne population will be bigger than Sydney. So that's why it's the biggest sand pit to play in. That's why I choose Melbourne. There's no other difference. If I wasn't living here, I'd probably move to Sydney if Sydney was better, Then you got Perth. Same thing, 12.5%, 12 times 0.5 factor, I would say. So 43,000 for houses in 81, 548,000 in 21. Units very, very similar in Perth. Adelaide, who cares? Hobart's done really well, right? So Hobart median price 37,000, 2.3 factor of earnings, and now 700. Look at that, 704,000. It's just gone crazy. I mean, it's such a beautiful area to live in. And people have always known that. It's just value for money. You're virtually paying half of or less the price of Melbourne. And you've got all these amazing waterfront properties. I mean, and it's a really chilled out area. It feels like you're in kind of, it's like a Bondi, St Kilda kind of it's got that alternative kind of, feeling about it. It's mainstream, but it's got that kind of alternative feel about it when you go through the cafes and restaurants and, it's just a very cool area to live in, very green, obviously. So I'm not surprised that Hobart has done so well. And then Canberra's done really well, 16.6, which is all the public servants there, which have been completely unaffected by COVID-19. They're just, it would be politically incorrect to sack any of them, right? My God, the left-wing media will have a field day. Now, school zones. I keep coming back to the fundamentals, and you've got to look at fundamental growth factors long term. If you look at school zones, in terms of 2021 school zone price, have a look at Mount Eliza, 1.93 million. School zone annual change, 45.7. Suburb change, 32.5. So these are catchment areas versus non-catchment areas. So catchment area, 45%, 32.5% outside of the catchment area. Richmond, median price 1.84 million, 39.6% school zone, 6.2 outside of school zone, mainly because housing commission and a lot of cheap properties overlooking housing commission. So Richmond's very fragmented as a suburb. Mount Eliza, 1.65, school zone, and obviously it's Mount Eliza North Primary School, 37.5, 32.5 is not in the catchment area. Heidelberg Primary School, 1.5 million, 36.7, 15.9. Look at the difference, 20% growth difference in Heidelberg if you're in the primary school catchment area and outside of catchment area. It's huge. Bentley East, same thing. That's not 172 million, it should be 1.72 million. 35% versus 9.4. 25% more capital growth if you're in the primary school catchment area. So if you don't know where to start, guys, just look at the best school zoned areas for capital growth, not by ranking, for capital growth. Park your money in there. These schools and these reputations will always be there. There's always going to be migrants from China, Russia, India that are moving here for their kids' future. They're going to go into these areas. That's where you want to park your money, buy into these suburbs. 10 best suburbs in Melbourne to invest in, 2021 to 22 and 23. This is a video I'm just going to go straight to the point. Normally I talk about charts and growth. I'm just going to tell you where to invest, where to avoid. So this is from basically a report from CoreLogic Data, and this is from your investment property magazine and SQM Research. So you have Ashwood, 1 year growth, 11.9%. This is for potential as well. Cranbourne, 550 entry level I source properties in Cranbourne and Cranbourne North and West, townhouses predominantly, overlooking creeks and golf courses. Crib Point, Heidelberg Heights. I've been sourcing a lot of properties in Heidelberg Heights and West. I'm a big fan. I've done videos on why the area is fantastic as a gentrification area, entry level area into the market. Knoxfield, Mordialloc, big fan of Mordialloc, very undervalued. I think it's a coastal town. It's going to do really well. I'm sourcing all the time in Mordialloc, Aspendale, Edithvale, Chelsea, big fan. Mornington, yes. Mornington, I've sourced properties in the past. People have done well. It's kind of out of the top 50. It's always like in the bottom 50, 60. It doesn't make it to the top, 20 or 30 suburbs. Narre Warren is just value for money. Scoresby and Templestone's excellent as well. Very leafy, but very good. Just done really well over time. So where am I sourcing predominantly out of this list and have been pushing? These three areas especially. Cranbourne for entry level, Heidelberg Heights for entry level for gentrification, and Mordialloc for just a normal suburb, mid-price suburb in Melbourne. So this is where I'm focusing right now and a couple of other areas that I'm sourcing in, around Essendon especially, and I'm doing stuff around the more Bayside, like St Kilda, Elwood, all those core areas. The best area to invest in forever is, for capital growth potential, is definitely St Kilda number one, St Kilda West, Elwood, and then I would go to Williamstown, North Melbourne, East Melbourne, West Melbourne, you know, these kind of areas. Then I would go to Balmoral, this is for capital growth. Definitely places like Elsternwick, Ormond, McKinnon, Bentley, Brighton East. Just go and buy stuff there, guys, and avoid Point Cook and Pakenham and areas that are oversaturated with future potential growth of infinite amount of land being released, not for capital growth. Here's an example of a property that I've just sourced in Oakley South, which is next to Monash University, Clayton, $849,000. Stage 1 and 2 have just been released. So these range from $849,000 up to $1.3 million for larger detached houses. Very good properties, architecturally designed, extremely good builder, extremely good architect, extremely good developer and property and the actual manager of the site. You can see there commercial hardwood floors, high ceilings, very light and open properties, architectural design kitchens. You can see tiles all the way to the ceiling, double showers, very good for rental, and very large properties as well. The project is just there, next to Huntingdale Golf Course. So you're between two stations, Huntingdale Station and Clayton Station. You got Monash Medical Centre just around the corner, which employs thousands of medical people. And then you got Monash Clayton campus, which is the biggest Monash campus in Australia. Thousands of teachers live there. Live there is a Freudian slip. They actually do live there, and when you think about it, they never go home. So you've got a great pool of tenants. Never ever lease your property to students. Never ever lease your property to students. They're dead broke. They'll destroy your property. Just remember that. Capital growth, 11.32% for the November to November last year for townhouses, 5.34% for houses. So people want brand new townhouses in Oakley South. They don't want those old 60s houses that are unrenovated with 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, you know, orange kitchen and green carpet that smells like a dog. No one wants those properties, right? They're good to buy for land, but they're not good to buy to rent out. You're going to get 2% rental yield. These are cash flow positive from day one by about $50 to $100 per week, cash on cash positive. So cash positive after all expenses paid by the tenant, including land tax, council rates, body corporate, everything. This is the typical configuration for the cheapest ones. So you have double car park. One is a garage, one is a tandem car space outside. Bedroom downstairs with an ensuite. And then you have laundry storage. On the first floor, you have another bedroom, which could be an office or a Zoom room. The same with the office down here. This could be a Zoom room or an office that you see clients. And then you have another bedroom here with a toilet for guests, kitchen, island, bench top, open plan living and dining, balcony. Upstairs, master bedroom with walk-in robes, ensuite, could be a master bedroom with an ensuite, and then you have a study nook. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms plus study, $849,000. Bargain. Do you know what I mean? In terms of size, we're talking about 189 square metres in a blue chip established area of Melbourne, you know. So this is like the entry level into the market, really. This is what I'll be targeting if I was starting out. There's really nothing below this that you can actually justify buying as a normal suburb. I'm not going through areas that are going through gentrification, guys, just normal suburbs. This is a great development, which I'm going to showcase to you, which I've just sourced in Essendon, which is one of the top 10 suburbs of Melbourne. In the west. Big fan of Essendon. I love Essendon. There's all the cafes and restaurants. It's just there, walking distance to all the cafes and restaurants. So you're basically in a suburb that's over 100 years old. I mean, there are houses in Essendon that are 120, 130 years old. Great suburb. Number one is, if you look at lifestyle, think about the lifestyle triangle when I'm going through this example. Why would people live in Essendon? Well, what makes Essendon so much better than Point Cook? The first thing, you have restaurants and bars and cafes. You've got the Italians, the Greeks, the Aussies. You have cafes and restaurants that are 50, 100 years old. You can't replicate that. You have entire streets littered with cafes and restaurants, right? Really good quality. Number two, you have massive amounts of parks and recreation centres, okay? This is what new estates don't have any of these. That's the biggest challenge of new estates. Those developers are always greedy and they subdivide the whole suburb into houses, allowing very little space for public recreation parks. Then you've got your supermarkets. You've got North Essendon Village, Puckle Street, which is a phenomenal shopping strip in Melbourne. In fact, if you're visiting Melbourne, this is one of the places to visit if you want to get a good coffee. And obviously you've got High Point Shopping Centre if you want a traditional style large shopping centre. So you've got all the convenience of shopping. You've got 20 minutes from the city by tram, 19 minutes by train, and probably 15 minutes driving distance. So if you want to go to the city to see a show or a movie, or if you work there, it's 20 minutes basically. Then you look at the prices of other homes. Look at this. This property sold for $8 million in 2018. This one for $10 million in 2019. 2019, 6.5, just released it recently for 7.5. So you got references of houses selling for a lot of money. So you have very wealthy, upmarket people living in Essendon with very high disposable income with no land left. And there's a lot of heritage protected properties as well. So you have extreme scarcity. Schools, obviously Essendon Grammar, one of the top schools in Melbourne. You've got to be in the catchment area. Strathmore Secondary College, right? So you've got really good pedigree of schools. Essendon Grammar being one of the best schools in Melbourne. And you're also in the catchment area of Strathmore College zone, which is very exclusive, and you've got to be in the catchment area, which is where this project is. And you can see their education has supercharged property prices in suburbs, a premium of up to 20% more than the average home in catchment areas. So Strathmore Secondary College creates 20% more capital growth potential in the same property if it's in the catchment area versus outside the catchment area. Huge. Employment hub. A lot of people don't know, Essendon Fields is undergoing a $100 million master plan set to become the biggest office building expansion for Melbourne's northwest. They're building 18,000 square metres of new office space, home over to 14,000 jobs. 14,000 jobs. So think about what will happen is this business centre, this business park, will be a hub for people to work out of, and they can go to school, home in that triangle very quickly. So you're living in Essendon, you're working in Essendon, your house is in Essendon, and your school's in Essendon. Lifestyle triangle, guys. 2 minutes, 5 minutes. This area will boom in the future, guaranteed. Watch this video. 5 years from now, you'll be seeing these prices and be going, man, if we only purchased that property. There's only 12 townhouses in this project. It just launched now, literally, and I've reserved about 4 of them. And this will sell out very quickly. So if you are interested, definitely get in contact with me. By the way, the opportunity of a lifetime happens every day, okay? So if you miss out on one of these projects, this is the kind of properties that I source ongoingly from the same developers. I mean, they're in the business of creating these products. So don't feel like you're ever going to miss out. The only thing is the prices keep going up because every time they release a project, they've got to buy the land, and land prices are going up, labour costs are going up through the roof. And not only that, material costs are going up, timber and steel through the roof, higher inflation. Architecturally designed properties, this is what they look like from the front. So it's kind of a very Art Deco inspired 1930s kind of a exterior and interior. Only 12 in the project. Typical configuration is open plan living downstairs. So as you enter the property, you have a kitchen, island bench top, dining and living area separate with bifolds, opening up to a large light-filled courtyard. Then on the first floor, you have 2 bedrooms with a shared ensuite and the laundry with built-in robes. And then upstairs, you have a massive master bedroom with walk-in robes and a massive oversized ensuite with a double shower and 2 vanities. Very good property in terms of configuration. And these properties are, total area is 150 square metres. So 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, double car space. Stunning inside. You can see that Art Deco inspiration. This is what the latest is. Everyone's over this French provincial stuff. That's gone and buried. They just bastardised Bowen and Kew, all those McMansions that were built. Everyone's over this French provincial stuff already. I love it. I've always loved French provincial, but it's just been done to death, okay? So now people are moving away from that into Art Deco inspired properties. So new Art Deco. Hey, look at these lights. I mean, they look like original Art Deco lights from the 1930s. It's so cool. So brass, 10 years ago, if you told me this is going to be the trend, I wouldn't believe you, because I was doing renovations. I was ripping out these kind of taps and shower heads and throwing them out, but now it's the latest thing. So think about the work, school and home triangle for Essendon. Same suburb. The quality of life is very high, safe suburb, people with lots of money, great schools, good capital growth. Very good colour scheme, fixtures and fittings. So you have your kind of mid-spec fixtures and fittings, so Smeg and Miele appliances, 900 mil, that kind of level. So once again, for investment purposes, it's a premium property because you're looking at 1,149,500. The rental estimate per week is $825 per week. So the annual rental is 42,900. The return is 3.7% per annum, which is really healthy. The owner's corporation fee is $2,650, which covers your building insurance and all the public liability insurance for the common areas. Council rates $2,200. Agent's property management fee is $2,917, which is 7.7%. So at 80% LVR with 3% borrowing costs, it's costing you $27,588 per year to hold on to that property. You're getting approximately $35,355 in rental. So after holding costs, you're netting $7,500 in your pocket. So these properties are cash flow positive for most of my clients by between $7,000 to $15,000, because you're also getting tax back as well. So they're cash flow positive by rental from day one. By rental, forget about negative gearing. They're cash flow positive by rental. So your tenant pays for all expenses, all outgoings, okay? Which is crazy. So it's cash flow positive and you're getting 9.56% return on your money. So you're getting 100,000 PA in capital growth and you're making $7,500 in your pocket. What's it to think about? It's just crazy, you know? And this is the thing about it. I mean, I show these numbers to a lot of engineering people. They look at the numbers, they don't do anything. Do you know I've never had one engineering person as my client? They come and listen, they go to the events, they read the books, they don't do anything. Not one. You know who you are. Just keep paying your taxes. You're doing a good job. Dan is using your taxes to pay for, his regime. So all your money is going to Dan. The launch of this project is now. Construction's commencing second quarter of 2022, completion in 2023, about March to June, depending on what's happening. So, you've got this capital growth potential for the next 12 months, which is going to be huge. So you're going to make money on the way in. By the time you settle, there should be $100,000 in there. Disclaimer, not guaranteed, but I'm saying based on market conditions. So you're looking at 150 square metres, 1.295 to 1.495, north facing. They're virtually a mirror image of each other. There's only two types of floor plans in this project. If you're interested to find out more, jump onto my email, conrad@investorsprime.com, and I'll send you the brochure with all the price lists. This project's not being advertised anywhere. It's off market, so we don't want the public to know about these projects. It's just literally me to you and the developer, and that's it. So that's kind of what I'm sourcing. Now, what's really going to happen in the Melbourne property market next year and beyond? ANZ, who hasn't got the best track record of getting things right, reckons we're going to do 20% next year, and some areas will do as high as 24%. Maybe. I'll look at things long term, guys. If you look at the next 25 years, okay, always take the long-term view. Think about Warren Buffett. He always takes a long-term view, and he's the most successful investor of all time in the history of investing in terms of consistent returns. It's the consistency that will get you there. Don't get greedy. You know, don't jump onto some new shiny thing that's going to make you a millionaire. Stick to we can do that as well, but just stick to the fundamentals and build up your core portfolio with blue chip properties in blue chip areas with blue chip tenants. Average homes in Australia may cost up to 6.3 million in just 25 years, a bombshell study has revealed by Aussie Home Loans. Projections show median house price will reach this figure in Sydney by 2043 from 1,030,000 today. Aussie Home Loans and CoreLogic survey predicts the average house price will hit 5.8 million in Melbourne from $1 million today, 2.9 million in Canberra, 2.5 million in Perth, and 2.3 million in Brisbane, with the biggest increase in Melbourne. So take the long-term game and then you'll be fine. That's my advice. People will come to you and say, the end is near, Armageddon. The only people that are telling you this are dead broke people that have no assets behind them. They're always telling you it's all going to come crashing down. Keep buying properties, guys. Every time I hear that, I'm like Stephen Wright, my favourite comedian, says I'm having amnesia and deja vu at the same time. Where are we coloring the property clock? Listen to the experts. Herring Todd White Valuers, biggest valuation company in Australia. We are currently here in the property clock. Rising market to the peak. I think the peak will be 2024. If you think this is the boom that it's entirely, you're completely wrong. This is just based on domestic, demand. People buying and moving. The next thing we have, we're going to open up the international borders. What's going to happen? 40,000 expats are going to come back to the country. UK, America, Europe. They're going to be buying houses in blue chip areas like Essendon, right? Like Glen Waverley, like Bentley, like Brighton, to put their kids to the best schools. Then you're going to have the international borders open up. We're going to have 150,000, 200,000 people trying to move every year to Melbourne from India, from China, from Hong Kong, from Europe. And these are all people that want to raise their kids in the best possible area, best schools. What do you think is going to happen to the current market where there's suburbs where there's 6 houses on the market? It's going to go through the roof. So you've got to do everything you can to get into the market in the right way, with the right advice, with the right property, and start playing this game, because you're going to miss out if you don't. People will be permanently locked out of the market in the future. Affordability will be at all-time high, and it's already a problem in major capital cities. So Melbourne is here at the moment. This is the peak. Next 3 years could really set you up for life. If you do everything correctly, this could be the determining factor in your financial history for yourself and your legacy for your family. Remember, when everyone's negative, you've got to make a decision. Are you a person that looks at the glass half full or half empty? I always look at the opportunity of what's happening around me. I just drink the water. I don't listen to anyone. 95% of the people are reactional. They react to the media. They listen to people with no credibility behind them, no results. 5%, like myself, we respond. We look at the prevailing circumstances and take advantage of them. I made more money, guys, at the bottom of the market than I never buy at the peak of the market. I buy at the bottom, refinance at the peak. Remember, be fearful when others are greedy. Be greedy when others are fearful. Do the opposite of what everyone's doing. When they zig, you zag. Remember, everyone gets it wrong. The public retires dead broke at 65, no assets. So if you're interested, if you don't know where to get started, next step is you can come and see me and we can do a Zoom call for 60 minutes. I do only have about 10 sessions per week that I do, and I am booked out for a number of weeks. And I take most of December off and the first weeks of January. So I've only got limited spaces for these. But yeah, I'm definitely keen to help as many people as I can to build up their property portfolio. This is my hobby. This is my healthy obsession, as I call it. And I can help you develop a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You've got to get started. The first thing you've got to do is get market ready. You've got to get a pre-approval and a funding proposal to know how much you can spend and what you can buy. And once you have that, I'll help you and I can source the best possible property in your budget. Whatever your budget is, I can help you, okay? And if you're not market ready, I'll tell you exactly what to do to get market ready. But I'll get you the starting point on your journey. You got to get the starting point from A to B. And you don't want to do this, which is what everyone does. They stuff around for 10 years and they waste so much time. Remember, the most precious commodity you have in your life is time. You can't recycle time. You can't get more time. Once your time is gone, you can't get it back. So it's what you do with your time will determine the quality of your life. And it's not how much you earn, it's how much you keep that will determine your wealth. So don't worry if you're on minimum wage. You've just got to start investing and you've got to allow decades of compounding. That's what's going to make the difference in your life. And eventually, you'll be traveling around the world, spending it, kicking back in the Greek islands with a Corona or Italy and not worrying about bills coming in. That's what you don't need to become a multimillionaire to do that, by the way, but you do need to replace an income. If you can just generate 200,000, 100,000 per year passively, then you're there, okay? So I can definitely do a plan. So it's initial 1 hour strategy. These are free, by the way. There's no catch, there's no fees. If you ever want to send me money just randomly in the brown paper bag, I'll give you my address in my office. No problem. Bitcoins, cash, gold, whatever you want. I'm in Alma Road. But these strategy sessions are free, okay? So there's no payment for them. It's an hour strategy with myself. We walk away with a clear understanding of the actions you need to take to bridge the gap of where you are currently and where you want to be. I'll also give you a whole list of the whole team that you can use. The mortgage broker, the accountant, the solicitor, the conveyancer, quantity surveyor, insurance specialist, everyone who makes up your whole team, and I'll show you who to go to in which sequence. It's literally paint by the numbers, guys. You can't get this wrong. I've done this thousands of times with people, even when I was a mortgage broker, before I started the company. So it's a step-by-step process. The end result is you're going to end up with property, and you're going to end up with the best possible property, given your current set of circumstances and your budget. Now, you need a minimum income to qualify for these consultations, okay? So if you're a single person, you need to be on 95,000 per year, because then you can borrow about 700, 750. I don't have anything under 700,000. I won't have anything. So there's no point seeing me. I can't help you. I can't source anything for you, okay? I don't do Frankston North and those suburbs, by the way. I just tell people that's an area to buy in, but I don't source in those areas, okay? Because I don't want to be responsible for people getting shot and stabbed when they collect rent, basically. Okay? So the minimum properties I have is 700. So one person, 95K, and you got to have 112,000 in equity or available savings, so you can put a deposit down and closing costs. If you're a couple, you need to be on 80 and 60 and have about 112,000 in savings. So you can borrow $700,000 and you can get into the market with a really good property. If you're interested, by the way, all you got to do is email me directly, conrad@investorsprime.com.au, or jump onto my website. If you've been to a live event, this is the kind of form you get, or you can just jump onto my website and just request a consultation on my website, which is investorsprime.com.au. That's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for my future videos. And this is Conrad Bobby Lake, and I'll see you on the inside.